Hey there, good morning, Indiana. Welcome to Who's Left This Week, the only unapologetically progressive Sunday morning news show in the Hoosier state. My name is Scott Aaron Rogers. I am recording from lovely Salem this morning for the Indiana Rural Summit, where I'll be participating in some breakout sessions today. Looking forward to those. But first, we've got a busy week in the news, and I've got a fantastic stacked panel here today to talk about it with you. Before we get into that, I do have to do a little bit of housekeeping and ask you if you would please consider subscribing over at HoosLeft.us. Help support this project with a paid subscription if you can. If you can't do that, I understand, and I'd still appreciate a follow on social media. I've conveniently listed all of those over here for you. Stage right. The handle is at Who's Left on most of them. It is at HoosLeft.us, the same as my website on Blue Sky, Instagram, and Threads. All right, enough of the shameless promotion. Let's welcome in our panel today. First of all right, hold on. Where is my thing? There we are. Going to get rid of that. Thank you. And welcome in our good friend, Kurt Mullett. Kurt, welcome.
Good morning, Scott. How you doing today?
Fantastic. Good to have you here as always. Appreciate you being with me. Hey, real
Thanks
quick,
for having me.
Before we get going, where can the folks find you on the social media?
Just look for Hoosier Blues 63. I'm on Facebook, Instagram, Substack. Got a podcast called Something to Say with Hoosier Blue. I'm on Blue Sky and Threads. Just look Hoosier Blues 63.
Fantastic. All right. Yeah. Also returning to the show up in snowy Northwest Indiana, our good friend Tracie Martin. Hi, Tracie.
Hey, folks.
Good to have you. Hey, you have a podcast too, don't you? What's that called? Where can people find it?
Do. Thank you for mentioning that, Scott. It's Bluer by the Lake. I'm on Substack, Spotify, YouTube. You can find my socials on Instagram and TikTok, and we have a Facebook page. So, the same places as y'all.
Hey, very good. And finally joining us for the first half. Well, Jesse will be here for the whole show. I'll fill you in on the details after we meet. Our good friend, the People's Champ, Indianapolis City County Councilor Jesse Brown.
Always a pleasure to be here, Scott. Yeah, good to see you all.
Great to have you. Hey, while we're promoting ourselves, where can the good folks find you online?
You can find me on most social media platforms at Jesse for Indy, on my website, jesseforoindy.com. On a couple platforms, you can look for me at Naptown J Brown. So
love it.
For both those and you'll find
fantastic. Everybody go find our guests today. They are all worthy follows. So please follow them and support them however you can. Tracie will only be able to join us for the first half today, but we have a very special guest in the second half. Mad Voters Executive Director Amy Courtney will be around to discuss the Indiana news, but we are going to start with the national stories in a segment I like to call Who Cares? As in, these stories are over there. Why should Hoosiers care? So let me begin with some headlines. First, on Monday, this is from a website called implicator.ai. President Trump signed an executive order launching something called the Genesis Mission, promising a Manhattan Project-level coordinated effort to unleash the power of artificial intelligence, connecting the Department of Energy's 17 national laboratories into an integrated platform. But, and this is from the Albany Times-Union in New York, Attorney General Letitia James there and her counterparts from 35 states and territories sent a bipartisan letter to Congress on Tuesday urging them to remove a ban on state-level AI regulation from the annual National Defense Authorization Act, which is expecting a vote in the coming weeks. Moving on, from ABC News, a federal judge dismissed charges against said New York Attorney General Letitia James, as well as former FBI Director Jim Comey, on the grounds that the appointment of interim U.S. Attorney Lindsay Halligan was invalid. Halligan was appointed to the job after Trump forced out the previous U.S. attorney for refusing to indict the two on trumped-up charges of mortgage fraud in James' case and lying to Congress in Comey's. Halligan has zero experience as a prosecutor. Moving on in dismissed cases from the AP, a judge in Georgia dismissed the election interference case against Trump and his co-conspirators in that state. Prosecutor Pete Skandalakis, a great name for anybody in politics, by the way. You do not want scandal in your name if you're a politician. Anyway, Skandalakis had taken over the case from Fulton County DA Fonnie Willis, who was removed after it came to light that she had been in a romantic relationship with the special prosecutor she chose to lead the case. Skandalakis, after reviewing the case, said he would not pursue the charges, citing the complexity of prosecuting Trump and questioning whether the state was the appropriate venue for this prosecution. An Atlanta judge then dropped the case. This from PBS. The Department of Justice is asking a Manhattan judge to allow the unsealing of grand jury materials in the case of Jeffrey Epstein, the convicted sex trafficker and former Trump bestie. This comes in response to Congress passing and then the president signing legislation requiring the release of Epstein-related documents within 30 days. From ABC News, Trump said extending Affordable Care Act subsidies may be necessary as the open enrollment deadline nears and millions of Americans may see their premiums skyrocket. Recall, the extension of these subsidies was the hill congressional Democrats chose to die on during the record-long government shutdown that ended earlier this month, when 8 Senate Democrats decided that they would not, in fact, die on that hill. Despite Trump's statement, he also said he'd rather not extend them at all. From Newsweek, the Department of Government Efficiency, remember them, has quietly been dissolved after much initial fanfare. Despite claims by Doge frontman Elon Musk that the department could trim at least $2 trillion from the federal budget, the pseudo-agency's website lists only a tenth of that saved as of earlier this week. The Doge cutting spree may not have resulted in great savings, but it did terminate tens of thousands of grants and contracts and reduce the federal employment rules by 250,000 people. Finally, in briefs, the United Nations Trade and Development Agency says Israel's war on Gaza has created a, quote, human-made abyss, and reconstruction will cost more than $70 billion and take several decades. The enclave's GDP has contracted 87% over the last 2 years, dropping back to 2003 levels. And that's not to mention the human toll. Officially, over 69,000 Palestinians have been killed, but some estimates put that number 2.5 times higher. So let us invite in our guests to discuss. Kurt, pick one of those briefs and comment, please.
Pick one of those briefs. Jeez.
No pressure, Kurt.
Yeah.
Such
You
an
tell me
embarrassing
what you want me to
riches.
comment on. What do you want to start the show off with?
Listen, I know you've always got spicy Trump material. So what do you think about this? Excuse me. What do you think about these ACA subsidies? Right? Is he gonna? I hate to say save the day, but is he gonna swoop in and save the day for Obamacare?
Well, this is what this guy does all the time. He has a history of this. I mean, a lot of people don't understand that the immigration problems that occurred around COVID and during Biden's administration were from the policies that Trump implemented during his first presidency. He does this. He creates a problem with his policies and decisions, and then he comes in and, farmers, whatever the situation, then he comes in and he does something and he acts like he's the one that saved the day. So yeah, this is what he's going to try to do. I think this has a lot to do with some of the backtracking that some of the that we're seeing from Republicans in Congress right now who are talking about and are saying they are resigning and leaving. I think there's a huge crack that's occurring in MAGA right now, and I think they're all freaking out. And so I think he's trying to find ways that he can save face by doing some things. Whether or not he's going to do it, who knows? But it'll come out of his mouth that he saved, healthcare in America, and this will be his plan. This will be his healthcare plan that he's been talking about for 6 years. Okay.
This is the typical Republican plan. It seems like these days, it's like create a problem and then come in and claim to solve it. Yeah,
Exactly.
Jesse, let me ask you about these briefs. Does one stand out to you in particular, or would you like me to assign you one?
If you ask any politician to talk, I'll talk. I'll spend your entire show just talking about whatever you want. But it's hot air contained in one balloon shape. Let's talk about the AI stuff, right? So, on the local level, data centers, which in many ways is just another way of saying AI, right? Because the real data centers that are causing all the controversy are almost all hyperscaler AI data centers for big tech, right? We're seeing just massive constituent outrage over that from across the political spectrum. So in Indianapolis last week alone, we had, or within the last 2 weeks, I should say, we had Decatur Township, which is a mostly Republican southwest side of town. We had Pike Township, which is a mostly Democrat and much more mixed ethnically northwest side of town. And we saw Martindale Brightwood, a historically Black neighborhood that abuts my district. All three had separate big public rallies against big tech data centers. That's in conjunction with 3 counties in Indiana that have already banned data centers or instituted a moratorium while they study them further. And at the end of the day, we're supposed to have a government by, of, and for the people. So even if it makes sense for a new Manhattan project where we need, really the federal government to come in and oversee all this, big tech, hyperscaler AI stuff, we have to have the people's approval and, agreement with this if we want to move forward, unless we're just embracing dictatorship. So I've had some people tell me that, oh gosh, all of these like protesters and people upset about data centers are just NIMBYs. They just don't understand. They misunderstand the facts. And even if that's true, in this country, you still have a right to have your voice heard and to have regulations match what you're seeing. So even if there is some misinformation, which I'm not agreeing with necessarily, I think that it's then beholden on the government to do education, to do public outreach, to do field hearings, to talk to people, to help people understand what's going on, and to make sure that the people's concerns are being addressed. Instead, we see Trump doing the exact same thing I see like Mayor Hogsett doing in Indianapolis, which is try to go above people's heads, just talk with the big tech folks, make a deal that everybody's okay with except for the actual voters and taxpayers. So I think I could keep talking, but I think that is that fracture that Kurt's talking about. MAGA is breaking apart because Trump's doing the swamp stuff, right? It's the exact stuff that actually got his rank and file supporters riled up in the first place, is doing big government things and working behind people's backs and over their heads. And I think that's going to cause his movement to collapse even more than it already has.
Yeah, stick a pin in that. We will actually talk more about AI in the back half of the show in the Indiana section. There's some developments this week in that regard. Tracie, how about you? Which of these briefs stands out to you this morning?
Okay, well, I'm going to say one more thing about AI since I'm not going to be here to talk about it. And
Please.
Also, Jesse, I think I'm a little older than you. So I remember the Terminator. Why don't they just name this thing Skynet? For the love of God, does nobody watch sci-fi or read sci-fi? I mean, AI has been shoved down our throats, and I'm also old enough to remember VHS, Betamax, every new tech bubble that explodes and leave behind rubble behind it. But in this case, the rubble is hulking concrete, huge buildings that use up our natural resources and bespoil our land and grounds and reshape our economies in ways that we're not necessarily going to be able to recover from quickly. So, but for me, let's talk about Doge, because that just makes me so happy. I'm not happy about the fact that in the rubble of this vanity project for the bromance between Trump and Musk has resulted in devastation to families and the denigration of civil servants across the United States. To me, that is absolutely criminal. I'm actually in civil service now. I know the people that are working there, and the people that are doing this work are good people who aren't getting paid much and want to live their lives and do a good job. And they're greasing the wheels that make your lives go. If you think government doesn't matter, Go try driving down 30 when there hasn't been plowed. Who do you think plows your roads, folks? It's not Elon Musk, and it's not the Cybertruck with the plow on the front. So
yeah, that would be probably pretty ineffective. Yeah, this whole
That's
Doge
redundant.
thing. You know,
Yeah.
what did Shakespeare say about the tale told by an idiot full of sound and fury, signifying nothing? That is Doge. Much ado. Probably wasted more money than they saved.
It absolutely. That's all that it did. It gave us the chance to feel outrage about something that wasn't Trump. Sometimes I wonder if perhaps that was his goal all along. He had early in his term, he had a target for our ire that allowed him to go and do the things that he wanted with a little bit more peace and quiet. Now that that's gone, it's interesting to see what's happening, but
Indeed.
Farewell.
Indeed. Well, let us go ahead and move on to our big U.S. stories this week. And we are going to start actually with what is a continuation of a big story from last week. So if you recall, last week, 6 U.S. senators and representatives, Democrats with experience in either the military or national security, issued a video reminding our troops that it is not just their right, but their obligation to ignore illegal orders. Well, this week, the Pentagon said on Monday that they are investigating Democratic Senator Mark Kelly from Arizona, a retired U.S. Navy captain and former astronaut, in light of what they call, quote, serious allegations of misconduct the department has received against him, and could even recall him to active duty to face a court-martial or administrative punishment. This comes as Trump has been pushing relentlessly for consequences for Kelly and the other 5 Democratic lawmakers over that video they made reminding service members of their duty to disobey illegal orders. In a video posted last week on X, the lawmakers said that, quote, threats to our Constitution are coming from right here at home, and repeatedly urged the military and intelligence community to refuse illegal orders, saying, don't give up the ship. Trump called the lawmakers' actions seditious and treason. Well, not all Republicans agree with their Lord and Savior, Donald Trump. Republican Senators John Curtis of Utah and Lisa Murkowski of Alaska backed Kelly, Curtis saying on Tuesday afternoon on X that Kelly's career has been defined by service, and his record reflects his example of the discipline and dedication that are important for success. Later that day, Murkowski echoed her Utah colleague, saying on X that Kelly valiantly served our country, adding, to accuse him and other lawmakers of treason and sedition for rightfully pointing out that service members can refuse illegal orders is reckless and flat out wrong, end quote. Now, they're picking on Kelly specifically because he was an officer and as such can be recalled under military law. Well, the other 5 are not out of the woods. The FBI has opened an inquiry into them. In a statement Tuesday, 4 House members said the FBI contacted the House and Senate Sergeant at Arms to arrange interviews with the lawmakers. Senator Alyssa Slotkin of Michigan said that the FBI's counterterrorism division notified her on Monday night that they are opening what appears to be an inquiry against the 6 of them. In addition to Kelly and Slotkin, the group includes Representatives Jason Crow of Colorado, Chris DeLuzio of Pennsylvania, Maggie Goodlander of New Hampshire, and Chrissy Houlihan of Pennsylvania. So, Kurt, let me get your opinion on this.
Do I have to keep it clean?
Absolutely not.
Okay, this is bullshit. Okay, it's utter bullshit.
Yes,
I'm so sick of these people making accusations like this. We have the biggest seditious conspiracy that ever took place in our country was on January 6th. And these people want to sit back and make these kind of accusations on 6 individuals who are basically just telling soldiers, military personnel, these are your rights. So screw them. Okay. And what they're doing, they're barking up the wrong tree, because let me tell you, that little powwow that Hegseth and Trump had with all the generals, that pissed off a lot of them. And they're going to poke they're going to poke this bear one too many times, and they're going to see what happens. Kelly is not somebody to mess with. And Hegseth is a freaking idiot. Okay. He's a former Fox News host who has, his mommy wrote him a letter saying, quit beating up on your wife. Okay. He's got Christian nationalist tattoos on his chest. He's a drunk. I mean, I'm sorry to, you know, attack the guy, but my God, this is just, sorry. It just pisses me off.
It's fine.
Pisses me off.
I'm gonna set you up to tee you off on Pete again in the next segment. So, you know,
all right.
keep it warm.
I mean, come on. Did you see the guy do push-ups or pull-ups? Did you see him? I mean, I'm an overweight 62-year-old guy, and I could have done more than what he did. I mean, come on. This is ridiculous. They're going to get what they're like I said, they're poking the bear, and they're going to get it. They're crazy. It's going to happen. Military, our leaders are going to say enough, and he's stepping out of line.
Who knows if they're not already there? You don't see a bunch of principled, experienced, educated men who've been trained on how to handle weighty, intelligent world issues, and then have some sort of Jim Jock Yahoo come in and try to cosplay leadership in front of them and impugn their character and impugn their service and impugn their dignity. Dude, he's lucky he got out of there in one piece. I would have given anything to be a fly on the wall at that meeting.
Seriously. Jesse, how about you? What do you got on this one?
Yeah, I mean, it's par for the course for Trump, right? So he routinely, over and over again, invokes violence, right? So Proud Boys, stand back and stand by, you know, like over and over again. But there's very fine people on both sides at Charlottesville. He gives a nod, a subtle dog whistle, a go ahead to right-wing violent people, right? So the January 6th people that were all pardoned, right? Over and over again, he clears the lane for political violence on his side. And then the second that anybody left of center says anything about like, hey, actually, isn't our military not supposed to do this? He will point out like, oh, it's sedition. Look, they're trying to start a civil war. Look, they're all murderers. Look at what they did with Charlie Kirk. It's over and over again. It's bad faith. They forget that they're in the middle of this kind of try to wag the dog thing. And then a day later, they'll openly endorse fascism again. It's just like we shouldn't be wasting any time treating their claims as legitimate or serious grievances. They clearly have invited a world where there are no checks and balances and where the president is supposed to be this unified executive theory. Like part of being the executive is being the commander in chief, and there are still rules for the army. And so acting as though this is seditious in any way is, again, they don't even believe it. They're just saying shit in order to just distract people away from the fact that our president is a pedophile, corrupt. I mean, like, look at the people he's pardoning. Like, the things he's doing are just so beyond the pale. All of the members of his base know that. Like, actually talk face to face with a MAGA person. I have not talked to any Trump supporter in the last month who can defend the shit he's doing. And so he's just trying to jingle his keys in your face while he picks your pocket over and over again. It's the only movie now.
I like that.
And a lot of those Trump supporters, one of the reasons they liked him is because he said, "Oh, we're gonna stop the illegal foreign wars." Well, about that, let's talk about the intersection of illegal foreign wars and illegal orders, because we've got Venezuela, and we've been ramping things up, putting pressure on them. Listen, Nicolas Maduro, we said it before, not a good guy. We hope his own people overthrow him. Great, fine. But this week, we learned that Hegseth personally ordered in a spoken directive, according to two people with direct knowledge of the operation, that in these operations targeting alleged drug traffickers in the Caribbean, the very first bombing, Hegseth said directly to kill everybody. Now, some current and former officials of law and war experts have said that the Pentagon's campaign, which has already killed more than 80 people on several small vessels, is unlawful and may expose those most directly involved to future prosecution. These alleged traffickers pose no imminent threat of attack against the U.S. and are not, as the Trump administration has tried to argue, in an armed conflict with the U.S., these officials and experts say. Because there is no legitimate war between the two sides, killing any of the men in the boats amounts to murder, said Todd Huntley, a former military lawyer who advised Special Operations Forces for 7 years at the height of the U.S. counterterrorism campaign. And even if the U.S. were at war with these drug traffickers, in order to kill all the boat's occupants, if they were no longer able to fight, would in essence be in order to show no quarter, which would be a war crime, said Huntley, now director of the National Security Law Program at Georgetown Law. So, meanwhile, with all that in the background, yesterday, Trump is telling airlines that the airspace over Venezuela is closed in its entirety. The drumbeat of war is ramping up. We've talked about this. There are the aircraft carriers. There are vessels. They're reopening an old base in Puerto Rico. By all accounts, some sort of action is imminent in Venezuela. So, Kurt, I told you I would tee you up to go off on Drinky Pete again. Have at it.
Well, I mean, this ties in with what we were just talking about, because what Pete Hegseth is doing is more seditious than anything that these 6 Democrats said. I mean, he's actually defying the Constitution. He's breaking the 14th Amendment by not allowing due process, which is what they are doing. They're not allowing due process. They're assuming. I've dove into this. There's like 8% of the drugs that come into the U.S. come from Venezuela. Most of them come from Mexico and Peru and Colombia and other countries. Okay, this isn't about drugs. This is about oil. Okay, Maduro shut off the oil supply. Maduro shut off the oil supply to all of Trump's cronies, and they're pissed off about it. They want the oil, so he's volunteered himself to take over Venezuela and cause this issue. I mean, but you know, this thing about him being a no wars president, anyone that has any kind of sense that did any kind of research or knew anything about it, he when he took over, his drone strikes increased like 200 or 300% over what Obama did. He's not a no wars president. Okay, this guy creates wars. He creates conflicts. It's just that his base are so damn stupid, and they believe. It's amazing to me. It's amazing to me. The things that they say are just regurgitated garbage that he says. There's no facts to them whatsoever. They just repeat what this guy says. So it's just Hegseth should be. I mean, any other situation, if we would have had any other situation where we had partisan governing right now, this guy would be gone. Okay,
he would have been gone with Signalgate. He would have immediately.
Yeah. And this is what makes me mad about Democrats. We should have never let Signalgate die. Okay. I mean, how long did we listen and we still hear about Hunter's laptop? But Signalgate, we let die. And we never should have.
Don't forget emails.
Emails. Yeah. I give them credit on that. They know how to repeat the same bullshit over and over again. And that's where we fail.
They do.
So, but I guess it's because we keep our eye on things, and there's a new story every day that we got to talk about. So,
and again, I just wanted to double tap on the point I made earlier, right? Because the only defense, if you can call it that I've heard from anybody on the right about this stuff with the boat murderers, right, is, oh, well, you know, Obama did drone strikes as well, including on American citizens. Yeah, and that was bad. That was wrong. Like, is your telling political message now, we are just the same as the Democrats that we just railed against? Like, because if so, who's your base, right? Like, if you are literally saying we actually are creatures of the swamp and it's just okay, and now we have to do things exactly like the Democrats, but you should keep voting for us because, like, you're literally saying you're the same thing. So you're living the plot, man.
And
just
you know,
no ideological consistency with these folks. Yeah, go ahead, Tracie.
Yeah,
my husband and I were talking about the other day the idea that these Venezuelan strikes actually are the fruit of the bin Laden air drone attacks, because that opened the gate to non-judicial murder is really what it is. We didn't capture him. We didn't give him a trial. We just killed him. Did I like him? No. And at the time, I'll admit, I thought it was a win. But now look at the fruit that we're here now. Now they have the perfect excuse to bomb fishing boats in the middle of the ocean. So, you know,
At one time we said it was weapons of mass destruction. Now we're talking about it's drugs. The same story plays out. It's just a different reason for it, and it's ridiculous.
I'm really glad that you dug into this, though, Kurt, because I was like, what the fuck does he want with? Why is he bothering with Venezuela? What is his angle here? I didn't connect those pieces.
Oil. That's what it's all about.
And it's always been oil with Venezuela.
Money. Yeah. America shows its might. Whenever they want something, we just throw a bunch of military at it and we take it. That's what the United States does. I mean, come on.
And really, we're at the point, look at the climate crisis. We should be like leaving oil in the ground. But, if you want to tie this in with all these AI data centers and whatnot, our energy demands just keep going up and up and up, like almost exponentially. And the oligarch class, the same AI people, they need the oil to fuel the Skynet, right?
Yeah, and build themselves an escape hatch on Mars, which is really, I know that sounds ridiculous, but yet that's what he's doing. They don't need to give a shit about what they do down here. They can all leave when they want to.
Yeah, well, yeah, you know what? Listen, I hope the billionaires and the wealth class leave now. We should all pool our resources and give them a one-way ticket to Mars. Quoting our good friend Leslie Nuss, who has a song by the same name that just came out earlier this year. Let's stay on foreign affairs, but move to the other side of the world. So last Sunday, the U.S. renewed its effort to bring the war between Ukraine and Russia to an end, with delegations from the U.S., Ukraine, and key European allies meeting in Geneva last weekend to discuss this 28-point plan that the U.S. proposed last week. Now, this original 28-point proposal was widely derided as a Russian wish list, and now it's being reworked under pressure from Kiev and from Europe. The public confirmation that it derived from a Russian non-paper seriously damaged U.S. claims to impartiality. Stick a pin in that. European allies countered with their own 19-point counter proposal that puts Ukrainian sovereignty, NATO potential, and military autonomy up front, meaning if the U.S.-Russia deal goes through without Europe, you may see a major transatlantic rupture in the NATO alliance. Now, by Tuesday, Ukraine agreed to the core terms of this deal, but at the same time, Russia has been attacking Ukraine with drone and missile strikes all week long, disrupting energy supplies, turning off heat in, a Ukrainian winter, which, not pleasant for the citizens of the country there. Now, the U.S., in addition to meeting with their Ukrainian and European allies, has been leaning heavily into direct diplomacy with Russia. Case in point, Special Envoy Steve Witkoff has basically been shown to be in contact, I don't know how to say this, working for the Russians, telling them how to massage Trump to get their way. Like we said, this 28-point peace plan was essentially copy-pasted, run through Google Translate poorly from the original Russian and presented as a neutral U.S. plan. And all of this distressing, certainly, but the Ukrainian side is not exactly clean. This week, President Volodymyr Zelensky's top aide resigned after a major anti-corruption raid at his home. This guy, Andrei Yermak, I believe was his name, is not just Zelensky's top aides, but one of his top peace negotiators in this whole thing. And, if you want to tie it in stateside, some 200,000 Ukrainian refugees in this country are now in legal limbo with a Trump policy shift, leaving their status kind of up in the air. So, listen, Jesse, Russia, Ukraine, it's over there. The name of the segment, who cares? Why should Indiana care about this?
Yeah, I mean, so I am team internationalist socialist, right? So I believe in socialism from below. I don't believe any government over in Russia or Ukraine is accurately representing the will of their people. Not surprised to see the corruption here. But at the end of the day, when we more and more have peace deals just negotiated by tyrants on both sides who are just facilitating corruption in the direction that they want, and MAGA people will be like, but Biden, okay, cool. Include those in that assessment, right? That's fine. Again, why are you trying to be exactly like they were? What we need is to have peace, right? And what we need is to have peace that doesn't just give aggressors everything that they want all the time. I've been critical of some of what NATO does and like tries to push conflict with Russia. But at the same time, Putin is a dictator and needs to be resisted in some way or another. I have friends from my last job who worked in Ukraine. So I would like work with them and we'd be on team calls. They'd be doing Salesforce work. And then they'd be like, oh, hey, sorry, we're late to the call because, you know, a missile strike hit the generator in our city. And so we're all sheltering in place in the basement. But then Skynet came on and we were able to get back to work. Just kind of mind-blowing stuff. But when we have this world where so large a percentage of our national expenditures go to defense contractors and to war, it hurts everybody, right? So that takes money away from what we could be doing to help people here at home. And like when we just flip on a dime all our policies, right? So first, I had friends who I helped write applications to try to sponsor them for the older program to help them come to the United States for a peaceful place to live. And so when people are seeing just like, oh, now all of a sudden, because of the arbitrary will of the dictator in charge of this country, maybe I'll have to go home. Who does that serve? Like when there's no stability, when there's no predictability, it's regular people who suffer the most. And so that's why we should give a shit about what's happening in Ukraine and Russia for sure.
Very good. Tracie, thoughts?
I think that Putin has absolutely zero interest in peace. There's no benefit to him in conceding anything. He doesn't care. There's no lever to push with him. He doesn't care about the suffering of his people. He doesn't care about the fact that any economic impacts, whatever they may be, he doesn't care about the loss of life of his soldiers. He just doesn't care. He wants this. This is what he wants, and he's just going to keep pushing for it. No matter what. He's not going to settle one way or the other. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what Trump tries to do or what Europe tries to do. He's going to keep maybe even pretending to negotiate, but he's never going to agree to it. This is only going to end when we go to war with Russia, period. That's the end of it. You know, I hate to say that. I'm not somebody who wants war, but I think that's where Europe is going to be going. I think they see the threat on their doorstep, and there's no way in hell that they're going to say, hey, go ahead and take Ukraine. That hasn't worked out so well for them in the past when they've appeased an aggressive force on any of their flanks. So I think that we are going to be seeing more ramp up of military that they're already seeing in Europe. And I think you should expect, unless Trump has another one of his flip arounds, you should expect a transatlantic alliance breakup sooner rather than later.
Yeah, that's not great. I mean, it really is just a microcosm of what MAGA has been, which is essentially the dismantling of the entire post-World War II
this is what
order,
wants.
not just internationally, but here at home as well. Kurt, what do you think?
The whole thing was a joke because
direct conflict.
I don't know about that. I don't know. I don't see an end to it right now. I mean, I am very skeptical about negotiations and deals, because we can take a look at what's happening in Gaza right now with, some of the things that have been, broken in, agreement there, and the violence that continues. So I'm not, I'm not one that puts a lot of faith when you try to negotiate with dictators and, taking their word for it. Also, Jared Kushner was part of this envoy that went there for their negotiations. So that kind of, that kind of tells you a little bit about
how serious they really are.
I mean,
he's just measuring for the casinos. That's what he's doing.
Yeah. I mean, there obviously, when you have a war that's gone on this long and you have a government, I don't think there's a government around the world that is not corrupt in some area. Okay. Corruption is part of it. I don't care how small it is or how big it is. It's going to happen. So the corruption that's happening. Yeah. Not all, but the corruption that's happening within Ukraine, that's going to happen. I mean, when you have a war going on as long as this one has, there's going to be people that approach members of that parliament or that government, and they're going to say, hey, here's what we can do for you if you, I mean, I don't know the details behind it, but that's the kind of thing that happens. So I believe right now the only good negotiation or good agreement that could happen right now is for Russia to get the fuck out of Ukraine. Yeah. And then we can go from there.
Get out.
That should be the agreement.
Go.
Then we can work on the rest of it. Until that happens, I don't see any positive end result, and I hope that it doesn't end up in war. But that's what these dudes want. That's what they want. Orban and Xi and Putin and Bibi, all of these guys. That's what they want, because they know what the power they have. I mean, just think about what would take place if there was some kind of coalition between, and it's scary to say, but the United States, when somebody like Trump's in charge with Russia and Bibi and China, I mean, my God, we would be looking at
authoritarians. Yeah,
it's unreal. So, and that's a reality. I think people have to, and it affects everyone around the world, not just us Hoosiers here, but affects everyone around the world. Anyone that has a soul or a heart or has, any kind of humanitarian belief in themselves, seeing this kind of thing happen is just, I mean, I have one thing I can tell you over the past 5 or 6 years, and especially over the last year or two, meeting some of the people that I have met, like Jesse, for instance, my eyes have been open to a lot of shit that I wasn't clear on before. And it breaks my heart to see the before and after of Gaza. I mean, it absolutely just is unbelievable. And we're not hearing half of what actually took place. They're not telling us because, one of the ways you gain control of the populace is you control the media and the information.
And their information that's why, down there is, it's like the Great Firewall.
So,
absolutely.
Yeah.
So well said, Kurt. Let's move on to our final U.S. story for the week for the rest of the hour here. So on Wednesday, 2 West Virginia National Guard members who had been deployed to the nation's capital were shot in an ambush attack by a Afghan national who was here in the country legally, excuse me, after helping U.S. troops in his country. He came here as part of a asylum program. So let me read what we know here from the Associated Press. So Judge Janine Pirro, the U.S. attorney for D.C., said the suspect, Rahmanullah Lakhwanal, drove across the country from Washington state to launch this ambush-style attack. Video reviewed by investigators show the assailant came around the corner and immediately started firing at the troops. This is according to Jeffrey Carroll, an executive assistant DC police chief. At least one guard member exchanged gunfire with the shooter. According to law enforcement, the official was not authorized to discuss the matter publicly. Troops ran over, held down the shooter, and the suspect was taken into custody. Now, there were two victims. One, Staff Sergeant Andrew Wolf, age 24, remains hospitalized in critical condition with gunshot wounds. Specialist Sarah Beckstrom, age 20. On Thursday, President Trump announced that she had died from her injuries. These two were deployed from the West Virginia National Guard to the nation's capital as part of Trump's crime-fighting mission that involved taking over the local police department and bringing in some 2,200 Guard members from various states. Now, recall, a judge had just recently ruled that this deployment was illegal. They should not have been there at all, but the judge stayed her ruling for 21 days to give the Trump administration a chance to appeal it. The suspect, Lockett Wall, age 29, entered the U.S. in 2021 through a program called Operation Allies Welcome, a Biden administration program that evacuated and resettled tens of thousands of Afghans after the chaotic U.S. withdrawal. He applied for asylum during the Biden administration, but his asylum was approved under the Trump administration, according to a group called Afghan Evac. Supporters have said there was extensive vetting and the program offered a lifeline to people at risk of Taliban reprisals. The initiative brought roughly 76,000 people to the U.S., many of whom had worked alongside U.S. troops and diplomats as interpreters and translators. Now, Trump is saying that, obviously, well, this is Biden's fault, not mentioning that it was his first administration that negotiated the withdrawal from Afghanistan that Biden's administration then had to implement. Refugee groups, obviously, are super worried about the backlash. They are terrified, according to the president of that group, Afghan Evac, Sean Vandiver. He says, quote, people are acting xenophobic because of one deranged man. He doesn't represent all Afghans. He represents himself. Again, this is one guy out of 76,000. So in his unhinged remarks after this event, Trump swung his focus, wildly from Biden and Afghanistan to Minnesota and their large Somali population. And he complained about the hundreds of thousands of Somalians who are ripping apart the once great state. And he raged at Governor Tim Walz for welcoming these immigrants and called him seriously R-worded. Stick a pin in that. That's going to come up later in the show as well. So a lot to dig into here on this one. I guess you've got the CIA training guys in Afghanistan angle. What could possibly go wrong? That could never result in a terror attack on U.S. soil. You've got the withdrawal, again, which Trump negotiated and Biden had to implement. You do the right thing. You take care of the people that helped you. Yeah, not everybody is going to be perfect. Again, one guy out of 76,000. And then you have, of course, Trump and his deranged lunatic ravings and using slurs against the governor of Minnesota. Tracie, I'll let you start this time. You haven't had a chance to start yet. So much. Where do you want to begin?
When you put a nation under siege and you cause the kind of psychological chaos and stress that of occupying your major cities, you're going to see people crack under it. We don't know what made this person do this, but when you repress your people, when you deploy militaries in your nation, this is what you're gonna see. He asked for violence and he got it. That's what I think. I think
there's a term for that, right? It's called stochastic terrorism, and the president of the United States is a stochastic terrorist.
Yeah, I mean, that's a new term to me. And But I think it's exactly right. He has created this environment to get what he wants, which is disruption. And that National Guard, that girl, she died because of it. This blood is on Trump's hands.
100%. Like, Kurt, they weren't even supposed to be there.
Yeah, I mean, first off, I just want, if by chance you're listening, the families of the victims, I just, we're all thinking of you, and I'm thinking of a lot of National Guardsmen right now in military. I've got friends who are in the National Guard, and so my heart, I'm there with you. We stand with you. So there's so much to dive into this. We could spend a whole hour on it, but I want to concentrate on his little news conference, because I did a reel on it also. He was asked about the asylum that this guy received, or let me back up a little bit. He was asked if he was going to attend Sarah's funeral, and he said, well, I haven't thought about it, but I love West Virginia. I won West Virginia by a big amount. It was a huge, that's what he said. Okay.
Stop it. Wait, 12, what? I'm sorry. I didn't hear this. He won't go
12
to that
12 seconds. He said, I haven't thought about it yet, but hey, I love West Virginia. I won West Virginia by a big margin. Okay. It's there. You can go to my page and find it.
About him.
Hoosier Blues 63. Yep. Okay. He also produced a picture that he later posted on his live social network that showed Afghans in a plane that he said came to the United States. This was actually a photo of Afghans in a plane that flew to Qatar during that time. It didn't come to the United States. The guy's a flat out fascist piece of shit liar, okay, who has no care about anyone. The fact that he went from, he's demented too. He's losing it. He's a geriatric piss bag is what he is, okay? the fact that he alluded to his victory in West Virginia being a big league victory when asked about going to the funeral of this guardsman, sorry, he pisses me off something fierce, man.
Yeah, you're turning red, Kurt. I don't want you to have a heart attack.
I can't believe anybody would support this guy. He's just a low-life piece of shit. I mean, what a self-centered, narcissistic.
God, her poor family, to hear that.
I know, to hear that.
Yeah.
I like West Virginia. I won big time.
A moment of connection with a leader, and his response. Could you imagine if Joe or Barack had said something like that? Oh my God.
I mean, I hate using those comparisons, but could you imagine?
No, they would have been crucified instantly. Well, first off, it wouldn't happen because neither one of them would have ever even dreamed of using that kind of moment to do anything but use it as a means of healing the nation. That's the kind of leadership Americans used to expect from their president.
But this is a guy who likes to stand above the graves at Arlington Cemetery of our dead wounded people, our dead soldiers, and do this. Okay, that's. I mean, come on.
I mean, he might as well be peeing on him.
I'm done. Jesse,
please take over.
Please take it.
No, exactly right. I mean, we have like a Department of Homeland Security that is openly posting Nazi memes, like, rapidly and increasingly using 1488 encoded messages and what they post, like literal Nazi shit. Like, this isn't like, oh, the left calls everyone Nazis. Like, no, like you have to go out of your way to intentionally incorporate Nazi phraseology, remigration. They're now talking about this week, which is an openly white supremacist phrase that no one else was using up until Trump's people started using it. And like, the buck stops somewhere, right? So even if it's not Trump himself posting this stuff, it's just his Department of Homeland Security. Guess what? The buck stops here. Put that on his desk. That is still his responsibility for this. So, when the person who shot Charlie Kirk 4 years ago was in a Republican Mormon household, do we think that is why Charlie Kirk got shot? Because it's been 4 years since this person's been in Afghanistan. So is it something about Afghan culture that caused him to shoot people? Or is it our crazy society where anybody can get a gun? And if you just have a decision to, you can very easily just walk around a corner and shoot two people. That's
Right
what
there.
we have interpreted our Second Amendment to mean. We live in a keyed up, constantly adrenaline flooded system on all sides of politics. We just hand guns out like candy, and this will happen. It will.
Yeah.
I'm a pacifist. I don't think it's a good thing. I don't think it's necessarily even a political thing. But like Kurt and Tracie both said, Trump wants this violence. Trump wants this to happen. You don't send ICE in to do these kind of ridiculous over-the-top raids. You don't send the National Guard in to patrol different cities illegally unless you're trying to provoke something where you can claim that there's a civil war, claim that there's a reason why you can't have regular elections and stay in power, like you repeatedly and intentionally say you plan to do. It's just super, super clear to anyone paying attention.
Yeah,
Trump
he's not hiding any lights under
Yeah.
any baskets.
Right, exactly.
So
that doesn't
one
mean
more
that,
thing I want to say that I wanted to bring up that Jesse just reminded me of. When Charlie Kirk was shot, when did we lower the flags half-staff? Almost immediately. Have you heard anything about this, Sarah? Are we going to lower the flags half-staff for her, an actual active military member of the United States? No, but we're going to do it for a white nationalist, racist, bigoted, misogynistic piece of shit.
Right.
That's where we are. And go ahead, Jesse. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to.
No, you stated that really perfectly. That's exactly right. And then again, anybody who said, well, gosh, Charlie Kirk seems like he said a bunch of shit that made people mad. They're like, how dare you? Look at them. They want violence. They're pushing for violence. And again, it's all bad faith. They don't even mean it. They're just trying to poison discourse so that everyone's afraid to even speak up, which is ironic to me because I'm old enough to remember a few years ago when conservatives were the ones complaining loudly about cancel culture and how it wasn't right to try to go after people and get people fired for their political opinions. And now, especially in the state of Indiana, we've got an attorney general, a lieutenant governor, like all of our top Republican officials are gleefully trying to get people fired for saying things that they don't like.
Oh, no, free speech only matters to them when it's convenient.
Exactly. I'm a socialist. So I'm never going to say
you're going to base anything.
Big government in terms of like government's ability to help people and save lives. I want that. Big government in terms of government's interference in your private life. I don't want that at all.
Right.
Why are the Republicans more socialist than the socialist is, right?
Yeah. Oh.
Yeah. Yeah.
That is an interesting angle. Yeah. Well, I mean, I think you were here when they announced the purchase of a 10% stake of Intel, and that's like basically Chinese state communism, and I was like, well, that was actually not a bad idea, but. Strange bedfellows in these times. It's weird out there. Listen, we are almost at the bottom of the hour here. I know we've only got Tracie for another couple minutes. We're going to switch over to our Indiana news and welcome Amy Courtney in here momentarily. But before we do, Tracie, again, tell the folks where they can find you before we let you go for the afternoon.
You can find me at bluerbythelake.substack.com. I'm on Facebook and I am not on X. I'm on Facebook, TikTok. Yeah, I abandoned X. I'm a novelist and I abandoned X immediately when he came on. I'm like, nope, no, thank you.
Yeah.
TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, usual suspects. And I'm gearing up to start the campaign season, so it's going to be exciting times over there.
Hey, Tracie, before you leave, you made a comment earlier about you were old enough to remember certain things.
Mm-hmm.
So, are you old enough to remember Mr. Drysdale and Miss Hathaway?
No.
Oh, okay.
Will you tell me what that is?
Well, they were the banker team from Beverly Hillbillies.
Okay, so I did watch some Beverly Hillbillies. I do remember that show. I don't.
That's how old I am, though. That's how old I am.
All right, Kurt, will it keep your heart if I tell you my grandma loved that show?
Oh yeah, it was. Back when racist TV was, controlled the airways.
Oh my
God. Yeah. Well, they were showing that stuff well into my teens.
Dude.
Tracie, I appreciate you being here today. Thank you so much for being with us.
Such a good time.
Hey, stay warm up there, all right?
Oh, I will. I'm going to go make a snowman in about 2 seconds.
Jeez.
Have fun with that. Send pics.
Bye, guys.
See ya.
Bye. Thank you. All right. That was the fantastic Tracie Martin from the Bluer by the Lake podcast. Go follow her over on Substack and all the places. Let's welcome in to take her spot, the equally fantastic Amy Courtney, executive director at the wonderful organization Mad Voters, perhaps the finest advocacy and educational pro-democracy organization in the state. Amy, welcome.
Thank you so much. It's my first time on the weekly show, so this is exciting. I am so honored to be here, and what a great lineup too. So
we are honored to
here.
have you. Been looking forward to having you on this show for quite some time. It is the first, let it not be the last. So let us begin here. Well, actually, no, before I jump into the headlines, let me give you the same opportunity I gave everybody else at the top of the show to just briefly introduce yourself and tell the folks where they can find out more about Mad Voters.
Sure. So Amy Courtney, I am the executive director of Mad Voters, and we are an Indiana-based nonprofit that empowers civic engagement and promotes progressive policies through state-level advocacy, outreach, and education. So lots of good work. We exist to help Hoosiers, to help individuals advocate for themselves, whether that's at the state house or the ballot box, and just tons of really good information and resources. You can find us at madvoters.org or at Mad Voters on all the social media except for the bad place.
Fantastic. Brilliant. All right. Well, housekeeping complete. Let us jump into our Indiana briefs and take a quick trip around the corn. So this from ABC News. The body of Maria Florinda Rios Perez, the woman who was shot and killed by a Whitestown homeowner when she was sent to the wrong address for a cleaning job, was returned home to Guatemala this week for burial. The shooter, Kurt Anderson, has been charged with voluntary manslaughter and is scheduled to be tried starting March 30th of next year. A trio of stories from the Indiana Capitol Chronicle this week. Go follow them, by the way. Just another fantastic organization here in the state. Nikki Kelly, the editor over there, does a great job. So please follow and support the Capitol Chronicle. They had a story this week about the disgraced former Clark County Sheriff Jamie Knoll, who is inching toward fulfilling his $3.1 million in restitution he owes resulting from his 2024 conviction on 27 felony charges, including corrupt business influence, theft, tax evasion, and official misconduct. While he continues to serve a 15-year sentence, his multiple Indiana properties and extensive collection of classic cars have been liquidated, raising some $2.7 million, though outstanding mortgages and various fees have reduced the amount available in escrow to $1.2 million, while civil judgments also continue to pile up. We'll keep an eye on that one. Staying with the Capitol Chronicle, researchers from the Center for Effective Lawmaking, a nonpartisan collaboration between the University of Virginia and Vanderbilt University, ranked Representative Erin Houchin, my representative. I'm in her hometown here, by the way, the Salem Witch, and as well as former Senator and now Governor Mike Braun. They've been ranked among the most effective lawmakers in an issue-specific analysis of January 23 to 2025. This is when Braun was still in the Senate. He was named the most effective Senate Republican on housing policy. He got points for sponsoring 2 substantive pieces of housing-related legislation, one of which passed the Senate chamber but didn't become law. Houchin, for her part, was named the most effective House Republican on education matters. She sponsored 1 substantive and significant education proposal that became law, plus 2 substantive bills that died early on. Also from the Capitol Chronicle this week, the Indiana's cigarette consumption is down 40% in the first 3 months after the state's first tobacco tax increase in years. Hoosiers are also enrolling in the state's smoking cessation program in record numbers. Additionally, this $2 per pack tax hike has raised $188 million for the state's coffers. And finally, in our Indiana briefs this week from Axios, local advocates for THC products are launching an information campaign aimed at sharing positive usage stories in an effort to stop the ban on hemp-derived products, slated to take effect next November. The Health Club of Broad Ripple and Indianapolis-based product maker Weed the People are asking Hoosiers to share their testimonials online and contact their representatives. I'll have a link to that in the show notes if you're interested in sharing your stories. Also, hey, just subscribe at whosleft.us so you get my show notes, which, even if you don't watch the show, make a very nice summary of the week's news. So, with those briefs behind us, or well, with those briefs mentioned, rather, Kurt, let me ask you, which of those stands out to you?
Well, getting recognized, Houchin getting recognized for doing something. Well, when you don't do very much, then the only thing you're going to do, you get recognized with. And the smoking thing, what they failed to mention is that smoking is down about 40% on a national level, also from 2022. From I think it was 2023 when this study was done, the most recent one I read. It's down 42.4%, I think, from 1965. So it's not. Are we doing a little bit better here in Indiana? Oh, well, that's possibly, but this is a national thing. Okay, so anyway, so
Hey, look, I'll take a policy when we get it. It is
I
rare
know,
in this state,
I know,
but
I
this
know.
one, hey, listen, kudos. They did the right thing this time, and it's actually working. Now, Jesse, let me ask you about Houchin and Braun. Do you question the metrics there as much as I do?
Well, I mean, to me, this is like perfect fodder for a socialist, right? Because I think they are very effective at using this fundamentally broken system to get what they need, right? I think it's worth pointing out, by the way, that challenger to Andre Carson, George Hornado, relied extensively on studies from the same center about Andre Carson's supposed ineffectiveness as rationale for why we needed somebody different. Yeah, do we want someone who is effective in the same way that Aaron Houchin and Mike Braun are? I sure the hell don't. Right now, I think it is interesting that somebody who is pretty closely aligned with his constituents' views on most issues, like Andre Carson, can be perceived as ineffective and can't get policies passed. To me, that's an indictment of the entire system of our legislature, which is deadlocked, which is bought off by corporate interests, rather than a sign that Andre Carson needs to do something differently. I've got critiques of the guy. He's not, a socialist. He's not a DSA member. He does take big money, I think, that he shouldn't take. But in terms of his policy positions and the way he engages on most legislation, I can't find much to critique, and certainly don't find him to be an ineffective lawmaker because he's not greasing more palms and getting more corporate giveaways passed with his name on it. So,
yeah, I think by their metric, like if you pass garbage bills, that's effective. But if you block garbage bills, that's ineffective. I don't know. Amy, I will give you the final word on our briefs here today, if you would care to comment on one or more of those stories.
Well, yeah, let's stick with the effectiveness. I think another data point that's important to note is that, the last few Congresses have been some of the most ineffective and least productive in American history. So I think you have to take it with a grain of salt. As a progressive, when I saw this, I thought, oh gosh, who are the hacks that are coming up with this? But then I saw, okay, it's the University of Virginia and it's Vanderbilt, and they're trying to be objective. So they're using objective criteria to come up with this idea of effectiveness, which I think Jesse nailed it. Effective at what? Effective at a broken system, right? And also there is nuance, and there's maybe some other factors that could be taken into beside just the criteria that they're using. So I'd say that's one thing on that. I wanted to also hit on the cigarette conversation. So as a former smoker, I actually just celebrated 20 years as a non-smoker, which is incredible, but also I understand how hard it is, and I understand what that addiction is like. And my husband actually works in public health, and so he likes to remind me of evidence-based practices. And as much as I really hate to put the onus on the individuals, and so many people who are addicted to smoking are poor, there is evidence that hiking the taxes does decrease smoking. And so, I don't know that there's a better answer or better options right now, but I think the more that we can reduce smoking and just make resources for quitting available to people, I think that's a good thing. So, probably some more to dig into there, but it's good any way you look at it if we're reducing the overall smoking, right?
Yeah, it works. Public policy works. I also am a former smoker, and let me tell you, when they raised those taxes and sent cigarettes from like $5 a pack to $6 a pack, that's what told me, all right, it's time. And my God, they're like between $10 and $13 a pack now. I can't imagine. It literally is setting money on fire. Hey, talking about burning a lot of money, let's move to our top Indiana stories this week. And we're going to go up to the region where Amazon is planning $15 billion worth of investment in Northwest Indiana data center campuses. They claim to be creating some 1,100 new jobs and to be up and running by 2027. Now, this deal will include a separate $1 billion deal with NIPSCO, that is the public utility provider up there, for some 2.4 gigawatts of additional generating capacity, which Amazon will pay for. Now, 2.4 gigawatts would represent some 10% of all electrical capacity in the state, enough to power more than half of the homes in the state. This deal for Amazon to purchase this large amount of power generation is in response to data centers driving up utility bills. Now, Hobart is confirmed as one of the locations. There is another yet to be confirmed. City officials there say it will strengthen public services, increase city revenue, and become a regional leader in digital infrastructure. We will see. Now, Amy's done a fantastic job and dropped some notes here in the show notes about their friends over at Earth Charter Indiana, who have created a data center community organizer toolkit. Again, links in the show notes. Check that out. Now, Jesse, I know you guys in Indianapolis just warded off a data center there in the southeastern part of the county. You're dealing with another one trying to come into the Martindale-Brightwood neighborhood. This is there's another massive, and I want to say it's also Amazon data center already up in northern Indiana in the New Carlisle area in western St. Joseph County. I mean, these things are popping up everywhere. Just this project is expected to take 2.4 gigawatts. That's enough to power half the homes in Indiana. There's more of these, so by my count, a couple of these data centers will be using more electricity than every home in the state combined, if I read that right. So I guess let me ask you guys about the data centers. Seems no one wants them in their communities. Hobart says, maybe there are some positive benefits. I guess I want to see where everybody stands on AI, on data centers. Do you want them in your community? Do you want them not to exist at all? What's the deal? And I'm going to start in reverse this time with Amy.
Yeah, I'd like him to not exist at all. I've been digging in a little bit to the AI conversation and was listening. Actually, Jon Stewart's podcast recently had, I forget his name, but the father of AI on. And it's terrifying for a lot of reasons. Certainly the Terminator aspects, but we'll leave that alone for a moment. I think the most terrifying aspect is, good Lord, we are already in just absolute climate catastrophe, and every forecast that has been made, we just barrel past it faster than has even been predicted. And so all we're doing with all these AI data centers popping up everywhere is making that problem worse. And I mean, all you have to do is, look out your window. You see it all around in, more extremes. But we are making it so that, civilization as we know it will not be able to survive on this planet. And so to me, the economic aspects, the climate aspects, it's just absolutely unforgivable, unsustainable. We've seen what unfettered capitalism has done, to this country, to have unfettered AI just running amok and, sucking up all the energy and using up the water. It's just a crime against humanity, to be honest. So absolutely against it.
So listen, I mean, I'm not a Luddite. I use AI for some things. I mean, we get off of this show. I'm gonna go on my computer. I'm gonna clip it into segments, and I'm gonna use an AI a script that AI helped me write to upload these segments onto YouTube, SEO optimized titles and descriptions, yada yada. I use it to help me automate kind of routine tasks like that as part of this thing. I mean, there are positive use cases for AI, but the way we're doing it is not sustainable. Like, these projects could, I mean, listen, I guess this one is at least aiming to pay for its own power usage and not unload that on others. But these things could be built sustainably. They could, recycle their water. They could use renewable energy, but we don't seem to be interested in those things. Kurt, I don't know, man. Like, am I wrong here?
Well, I overall, does AI have some positive things about it? Yeah. It probably does, but I think in the long run, it's not going to be a good thing. It's going to destroy so many lives and affect so many different aspects of our lives, from entertainment industry to farmlands to jobs to cost of utilities to our water systems. I mean, the list goes on down the road. I mean, it's just one after another. There's been studies done and data proven that in some states, I think it was West Virginia, I read the other day, where there's a data center where it's basically just dried up the water table that's around this data center. I'm a NIPSCO customer, and
I'm sorry.
Yeah, there are. You can't tell me there's not some kind of deal going on here with Amazon and NIPSCO on this. And I don't believe the crap that we're not going to end up paying for it. We're going to be the ones paying for the electric bills on this. Guarantee you. I don't care what they say. And the 1,100 jobs, the way I understand it, are just basically construction jobs right now. Most of them are going to go away once the place is up and running. So the way they're presenting this is just a bunch of bullshit. And they're trying to cover up just like everything else. This is what corporate America does. And we've got a segment of people in this country who, for some reason, continue to support the billionaires in this country and don't understand that they're voting against their own, their own best interest. I mean, this is, so is AI got some good points to it right now? Yeah. In the long run, I think it's going to do so much devastation in our country that I think it needs to be stopped right now. And I don't see how it's going to be done, because money talks and the common man walks. So, and it's just bullshit. But look at what it does to farmlands and to the water tables and to, cost of electricity. So those alone, not to mention the other things that it has. But I understand there's a place for it. So, but I'm against them.
Yeah.
So,
Jesse, final words on AI in our communities.
Yeah. I mean, obviously Amy and Kurt both said great things that I mostly agree with. I think that there are ways that a regular person can use AI productively, and it could be a powerful tool. And I think it makes us, it runs the risk of pushing away people who are like, what do you mean? I use AI and it makes it much easier to write or to read my email, and you're going all Luddite against it. You must not know what you're talking about. So, the nuance I encourage here is think about the concept of an algorithm on social media. The concept of an algorithm is not a bad thing, right? Like, you don't have to wade through tons of crap. You can see things that are relevant to you that you like. But I think anybody looking at how the actual algorithms in the hands of big tech are used against us, it's like, everyone agrees, deleterious. It's really bad for our health. It's bad for our social health.
That was weird.
Hearing random, noise in the background. I don't know if that's on my end or what. But yeah, I mean, right now, algorithms are in the hands of big tech. Are hurting us, right? It's stopping us from being able to do what we want. And in the same way, AI in the hands of big tech is just going to be used to make the powerful more powerful, right? And if it was this useful tool that everybody loves, why are they pushing it down our throats so very hard? You can't do a Google search anymore. You can't open your Gmail without it being like, hey, do you want Gemini? Hey, do you want AI-powered search results? Why? If I'm not asking you for it, I'm the consumer. Aren't I supposed to be in charge? They want to get us addicted to all of these products that are loss leaders, right? They're selling it to us, making a loss on it, while investors are pumping up their stock. Then later on, just like with Uber, and Lynn mentioned this in the chat, just like with any other disruption, then they raise the price up once they've made us so that we cannot do our jobs without the use of this tool. All it is it's increasing the corporate power. It's increasing the elites having control over our lives and our ability to read, to write, and to understand anything. We can understand that technology could be a good thing when it's in the hands of the people, while also recognizing that that is not what is going on. That's not on the table right now for us to vote for or against. So that's all.
Right. This is also going to dumb down America. This is another way where education is going to be taken out of the fold, because why do I have to read or interpret something on my own when, hey, all I got to do is ask AI? So, it goes much deeper than just, and
there are already studies showing that it is affecting our cognitive abilities. So that is something.
Well, look what cell phones have done. Look what cell phones have done. I mean, we have technology at our hand to know anything we want in the world, and yet we've lost our ability to think. It's
100. and look at the decisions we've made, electorally because of it. I do want to move on and kind of breeze through these next couple before we spend a good chunk of time on our last story today. So this one's weird. So so this week, officers from the Indianapolis Metropolitan Police Department shot and killed Robert Beto, age 37, while trying to serve a warrant 25 miles south of the capital city in Franklin for a series of charges related to a 2024 domestic violence case. Now, last Saturday, around 3:25 a.m., a neighbor's surveillance camera captured someone slashing tires in Beto's ex-wife's driveway. The person in the video moved toward the house next door belonging to Jeff Finkel before going out of view. Around 3:55 that morning, somebody shot Finkel dead. Later that same morning, and as late as Monday, IMPD received reports from multiple neighbors on that same street reporting damage to their vehicles. On Monday morning, Marion County prosecutors charged Beto in connection with that 2024 case, which they had not done at the time for various reasons. And on Tuesday, while attempting to serve Beto, IMPD shot and killed the man in Franklin as they attempted to serve the warrant. Video from the scene shows officers approaching Beto, a truck driver. They show approaching his rig when the suspect reached his arm out of the window, prompting police to fire. A firearm was found at the scene. And though Beto was not named a suspect in Finkel's murder, he was a person of interest. Now, this is the second time in less than 2 months that IMPD officers have been involved in the death of a suspect outside of their jurisdiction. And that comes on top of another October incident where officers shot an unarmed man while serving a warrant. Jesse, this is IMPD. You are Indianapolis City Councilor. These folks are under your purview, so I want to get your thoughts on this story.
Appreciate that. Yeah, and I know, as a socialist who you can find a picture of me wearing a defund the police t-shirt from back in the day, people jump to assumptions about the way I feel about this. I will say that I think that officers of the IMPD are mostly good people who are in the job for the right reasons and are trying their best. That said, What is indisputable is the fact that although we fund Indianapolis Metropolitan Police Department for 1,743 officers, we actually can't manage to get anybody in the door to work these jobs. We have the Public Safety Committee this month just said that we were down to, I think, 1,390 officers, so we're about 350 officers short. That's despite them having a first year pay of $85,000 with a take-home car and 6 weeks paid training. You know, like we're doing everything we can. We've over doubled officer pay in the last 10 years and still can't get enough people in to do the jobs. And it shows. Like, there are a lot of people in my district who wish that someone would pull people over for running red lights and crashing their cars over and over again. So if we are in this severe officer shortage, which is real and is really happening, why the hell are we pursuing things outside the boundaries, right? Like, I understand, yes, you know, crime doesn't respect arbitrary lines on the map, but surely there are police departments in other parts of the state where this could be happening, you know, and those officers can pursue this themselves. I just remain unconvinced that the way we currently do policing is fair to the officers, is fair to the community, is fair to the taxpayers, and obviously fair to the people who end up dying without, you know, a trial. I don't think anybody should be presumed guilty. I believe, you know, I've done trainings, you know, like simulated firearm trainings and things like that, where I'm sure the officers were scared shitless, fear for their lives, and that's why they fired. But why are we throwing just fewer and fewer people just into repeated situations where they have their nervous system just basted in adrenaline and fear over and over again? Just like AI, this does a number on people, and it's really bad for everybody's health. We have to reimagine policing and figure out what situations require somebody keyed up on adrenaline with a gun and a badge, and what situations just require somebody with a clipboard and a questioning attitude, right? Like, we can't keep going the way we have been before. It's getting a ton of people killed, including officers, and I don't think it's serving us anymore.
Yeah, and listen, you know, say what you want about the suspects in both of these cases. You know, this one, if true, you know, if the crimes of which Mr. Beto was accused, if he did them, you know, not a good guy. Likewise, the suspect in October, where it was a police chase that basically wound up going into Johnson County, I want to say. Again, probably not a good guy, but there are ways to do these things. Law and order dictates you arrest your suspect, you bring him in, you have a trial. We don't need to turn our officers into executioners. That is probably not the way we should be doing things. Amy, can you comment on this story?
I actually think Jesse did a pretty good job of summing it up. He's obviously, as a counselor, much more involved in the IMPD conversation, but I would just echo everything that he said. You know, it's not about defunding the police. That was obviously just bad messaging, but it's about reimagining and looking at, you know, it needs to be like multiple tools in the tool belt and make sure that we're using the right one. We've obviously seen that a lot with mental health calls, you know, so often resulting in, you know, death, when maybe if instead of officers, there were, you know, trained, you know, mental health specialists to go in, could have had a different outcome, you know, and we've seen some funding for that recently. So absolutely support anything that's going to help this situation overall, and also agree there's a lot of good people who are in you know, the career as a police officer, and, you know, are trying to do the right thing and are in just incredibly stressful, difficult situations. And so, you know, we just need to be realistic about what we're doing and try to have, you know, involve the community a little bit more and what the solutions could look like, and, you know, do something different that's going to have better outcomes for the police, the community, suspects, you know, everyone involved.
Yeah, thank you, Kurt. I don't know, like, how do we message this? You know, defund the police was not great. That didn't work. It almost backfired, I think.
Yeah,
like,
bad choice
I like
of
to
words.
frame it as like save dudes with guns for dudes with guns shit.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. You know, I'm not from I'm not familiar enough with the story down in Indianapolis or with the situation in Indy to, comment on this story. And I think Jesse did a great job, and Amy just, elaborated on it even better. So, but I live in a small community of 10,000, and I can tell you our police department is, a lot to be desired. So I think it's a problem nationwide that we have to address. And what is the exact problem? I don't know. I know my experience here where I live, and I come from a family who had an uncle who was a military cop and also a lifelong member of the Wabash City Police Department and a chief. Okay. So I've been familiar with law enforcement and people involved in it my entire life. And the department of 1980 is not the department of 2025. I'll tell you that much. It's a completely different situation. So I don't know. I wish I had the answers. I think there's so many things that have to change. I do not believe in officers or the police department becoming involved in political issues, and that occurs in our city immensely. When Charlie Kirk was assassinated, big time, and I just don't think that should be allowed. I mean, I live next door to a deputy sheriff who had never surrender signs in his yard for a year, which I never will understand where that mentality comes from. So it's, but the problem down in Indy, what occurred, evidently, this is an issue with not having enough personnel. And I don't know why they're not getting people to fill the positions. Maybe it's because of the leadership that's involved in it. I don't know. I mean, if we paid attention to what's going on in New York City, one of the reasons or one of the excuses that this Mayor Adams used was that there was 17,900 and some positions open, and they couldn't get anybody filled for those positions. Well, our buddy Soren has 70,000 applicants. So why is that? People don't want to be associated with leadership. Is that, I mean, they want to be part of something that's going to change and better the society, or they, I mean, I think that has a huge, I mean, come on, he's got 70,000 up, and most of them are 26, and the average age, I think, was 26 years old. Correct me if I'm wrong, but that's amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing. So what would happen if we had somebody like that come into, what if Jesse Brown became the mayor of Indianapolis? I bet those positions would get filled in a freaking heartbeat. Okay. And I honestly believe that. I think it has a lot to do with leadership, and people don't want to be associated with, bad leadership,
Yeah.
That's
there's
just
a
my
certain
feeling.
old way of doing things that people, they want to be a part of a good positive change and not reinforcing the same old horrible system. I want to move on, kind of breeze through this next story again. So let's look at this new rural health plan that the state's rolling out. So this is from the Indiana Capitol Chronicle. Again, as part of the Republicans' One Big Beautiful Bill passed this summer, Congress created a $50 billion rural health transformation program, setting the states in competition with one another for grant money. All 50 states submitted applications in early November, and we got the details of Indiana's plan this week. Branded GROW, Cultivating Hoosier Health, the plan is described as a joint effort by the State Department of Health and the Family and Social Services Administration. The proposal was organized around 12 multi-year initiatives aimed at expanding care access, modernizing technology, improving outcomes for chronic disease, strengthening emergency and maternity care, supporting behavioral health workforce development, and distributing large regional grants. Now, these grants are named Make Rural Indiana Healthy Again, leaning into Health and Human Services Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr.'s MAHA branding. The grant program would divide the state into 8 regions, requiring each region to apply, and the grants would be awarded on a competitive basis. And I'm going to start here with Amy. Amy, is this the way that we should be investing in rural health in our state. It sounds like to me that we're setting the different regions against the state against each other for a limited pool of money instead of like directing things where there's actual need.
Yeah, and I think this is an example where, the firefighters are also the arsonists. I mean, look at how much money we have taken away from rural health funding, specifically with Medicaid. And I think it's $1 trillion over the next decade that is being taken out of Medicaid. Some upwards of like $150 billion just for rural health. Also the policies that we have as a state have an impact on rural health. So, let's go back to 2022 when Indiana was the first state in the country to implement a near total abortion ban. That has real consequences. We've seen, Hoosiers die because of that ban. We've seen, doctors leaving the state. We've seen, just so many bad outcomes as a result of those policies. And so, I think that there's like a holistic situation here that we need to be looking at. And, it's more than just, this is great. Let's put more funding into, rural health care. But let's not pretend that we aren't doing way more harm to it through our policies and the Medicaid cuts. And even, what was it? I forget the exact figures, but in the Indiana state budget last year, the amount of public health funding that was slashed was just astronomical. And so, what are we doing? Do we actually care about healthcare? Or, are we just using, people, just using them for when it's like politically expedient to look like we're doing the right thing? I think we need to have much better healthcare policies at the state and federal level. And, we could go on about, Medicare for all and different options. And, again, the fact that I work with a lot of people from other countries where they have healthcare, and it's just astounding to them the way Americans can't access it when they need it and have to go into debt and have to navigate, the insurance system. So there's just so many factors that are contributing to just abysmal health outcomes in this country. And I really wish we could have some good faith conversation about what good health policy would look like. Because, this is even just a Band-Aid, and we need just comprehensive reform. And so I'll let the socialist take it from there, because I'm sure he's got some thoughts.
Yeah, actually, no. I want to imagine a picture with me here. Okay, we are here in the middle, and to our right is a short, well-maintained, nicely paved, tree-lined path toward full coverage, universal coverage for everybody. Now, you can get to coverage for everybody another way. It is a long, winding path. You have to ford rivers and climb mountains and jump railroad cars, and there's a moat with alligators, right? Well, we chose that path because the other path, the nice tree-lined one, you have to go through a gate, and the gate says socialism on it, and we don't go through that gate over there. Is that, Jesse, kind of the way the American healthcare system is?
Yeah. So there's a few different things I want to say about it. That's an apt metaphor. I think that's perfect. But yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, a grant program to reward, competition, I could see there being a role for that in a like socialized healthcare system. There will be some people who want to innovate, try things differently, and some of those things will work better than others. I think that's great. I don't think the government-run system has to mean no one is allowed to innovate. I don't understand how any system would work. That's not how it works anywhere in the world, but it's worth saying out loud. But I also just wanted to point out the fact, like, Amy's metaphor was great. Like, the firefighters are the arsonists. But while we're talking about firefighters, right? So if you Google firefighter costs Indiana, the costs of fire trucks are going up exponentially, partially due to tariffs, partially due to manufacturing issues. It's getting very expensive to buy fire trucks in Indiana. But what we don't say is we're going to take all the money that should be going towards, you know, fire stations and fire trucks in Indiana and make them a competitive grant and see who does a better job, because that's fucking crazy, because that would lead to a bunch of people having their houses burned down. And we know that. And so even though things are expensive, we don't just like turn this into the Hunger Games where we have to fight against each other to figure out who gets funding for basic services. Yes, the costs have gone up. Guess what? There are billionaires, there are multi-billionaires out there who have a mental disorder that we need to be helping them with. When you see a neighbor of yours who you walk into their house and you can't even walk because they're hoarding so much stuff, you don't think, man, this person really has it all figured out. They've got so much stuff. It's more stuff than me. Therefore, they're doing better than me. Why do we treat money any differently? These folks have more money than they can ever spend in their lives, more money than they can give to people they love. They're hoarding it excessively. It's a mental health issue. So why are we letting these people set policy rather than just abolish the private health insurance industry, care for people first and foremost, above any profit, above any innovation, and then work from there? It's not a hard problem to solve. Every other OECD country has figured this out. We're just like playing off in the margins rather than talk about the real problem. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, it's true. Kurt, I'll give you the last word on this one, and go quick. I want to spend a good amount of time talking about redistricting.
Well, yeah, I don't trust Republicans. I don't trust either party when it comes to healthcare. Okay, but I definitely don't trust Republicans, because Indiana is at the bottom of every major metric when it comes to healthcare nationwide, especially when it comes to maternal mortality rate. Being in rural Indiana, I see exactly how this has affected us and will start to affect us. We have one doctor in the area, so everyone else is a nurse practitioner. So, you know, it's like what we were talking about earlier and what Amy referred to. You know, they create a problem and then they say, "Oh, hey, look, here's our solution. We're going to fix it." It's asinine what they're doing. So, there probably would be some good advantages to this system that they're trying to implement if our system wasn't in the position it was in right now. So that's what I'll say about it, because we could talk about it for an hour or so.
Indeed, we could. There is not enough time in the day to talk about all of these.
Right.
And I will dedicate a full show to rural healthcare here in the
near
future.
Yes.
So let us move on to our highlight story this week. And so the ongoing saga of Indiana gerrymandering is back on. State House Speaker Todd Houston announced Tuesday that his chamber will, in fact, convene on Monday, tomorrow, to take up redistricting. Senate President Pro Tem Rod Bray then announced the upper chamber would meet beginning the following Monday. Recall, President Trump has been pressuring legislators in red states nationwide to take the unusual step of redrawing their congressional maps outside of the normal census cycle. Texas kicked off this circus, other states have followed, and the pressure has been turned up on Hoosier Republicans. Still, the Indiana GOP has been split, and just 2 weeks ago, Bray announced the Assembly would blow off Governor Mike Braun's call for a special legislative session because they didn't have the votes. At Organization Day, the ceremonial start of the 2026 session, lawmakers voted to adjourn until January 5th. That came amidst a week of menace and intimidation, with swatting incidents and bomb threats directed at the Republican holdouts. The governor, and even a colleague of Jesse's on the Indianapolis City County Council there. So yesterday, Speaker of the House, the U.S. House, Mike Johnson, huddled with Indiana Republicans on a conference call, pleading for Hoosier lawmakers to help advance the Trump agenda. The pressure has yet to work on some of the legislators here. State Senator Greg Walker of Columbus says he turned down an invitation to the Oval Office and accused the White House of violating the Hatch Act, which restricts political activities by federal employees, saying, quote, "I refused the invitation, but the underling who reached out to me is trying to influence the election on my dime. That individual works for me. He works for you. He's on my payroll, he's on your payroll, and he's campaigning on company time. That's a violation of the Hatch Act. He's a federal employee. He works in the White House. But does anyone care about the rules anymore? Not that I can tell. And the nose picked up another Senate Republican this week as Mike Bohacek came out against the proposal, citing the president's repeated use of the R word, particularly in a Truth Social post this week directed at Minnesota Governor Tim Walz, which we mentioned earlier in the show. Bohacek, whose daughter has Down syndrome, said, quote, "This is not the first time our president has used these insulting and derogatory references, and his choices of words have consequences. I will be voting no on redistricting. Perhaps he can use the next 10 months to convince voters that his policies and behavior deserve a congressional majority," end quote. So I will open up this to discussion. Now, listen, I'm glad Senator Bohacek has found a line that he wasn't willing to cross, that something told him the president has gone too far and I'm not going to support his agenda. That's great. Same thing with Senator Walker. I appreciate that. I appreciate all of the no's in the Republican caucus. For whatever reason, maybe it's the right reason, maybe it's not. These people have landed on the right decision, but I have to ask all of you, is this just kayfabe, right? Have they found the number of their group that are allowed to pantomime having principles in public while still ramming through this highly unpopular gerrymander? And I'm going to go in reverse this time and start with you here, Kurt.
Oh, wow. So his response, because he has a Down syndrome daughter, to me, so wait a minute, it's directly affecting you. So now you're speaking up about it. What about all of the other things that you have voted on that hurt people that, didn't evidently affect you? So even though, yeah, that's good that he said that, bullshit, don't give me that line. What I'm going to say is they could stop this from happening by not showing up. Okay. If those Republicans who are against redistricting just don't show up, don't give them a quorum, just don't show up, they could stop this dead in its track. So that's, I think, where we need to push. That's where our focus needs to be, is just not allowing this to come, to become a thing,
Yeah.
Squash it if you really are that serious about it. So we know it's wrong. We know it's, but on the other hand, I'm absolutely, let me say this. I'm absolutely against redistricting. That's, gerrymandering, manipulating elections. That's all bullshit. But I think there's something going to happen that we saw with the results in New York City in this last election that I think scaring the hell out of Republicans, because I don't think people understand how much this administration has pissed off a lot of people in this country, and they're going to make damn sure they show up to vote this next term, because they're not going to allow this to happen again. So that's what will the gerrymandering affect outcomes? Possibly, but I think if we show up to vote, it doesn't matter what they say or what they do, we will win. And that's where our focus needs to be. Let's fight the gerrymandering. Let's do that. Let's stop the redistricting. But our focus needs to be on exciting people, educating people, getting individuals involved in running for office. That's our main problem. Our primary ballot here in my county in 2024, okay, we had one race that was up for a vote, and that was the Carmichael McCray. We had 8 no candidate positions on our ballot. So that's our problem. It's not redistricting. It's not gerrymandering. It's that we don't get people involved to vote and to run for office. And that's where we need to focus. Stop the gerrymandering. Let's talk about it. But my God, we need to get people excited and educated and know you need to be a delegate. You need to be a precinct chair. You need to run for office. You need to run. That's where our focus needs to be right now, because I guarantee you there's a lot of people in this state, especially young people, and with the organization that Courtney and I have started, with the help of other people. That's our focus. We're trying to excite, educate, motivate, and get people in place to run for office. And if we do that, and if we get the votes out there ain't a damn thing they can do to us, okay? Because we will win.
Yeah.
So,
and if you do that, you can win on any damn map.
Exactly.
Jesse, I gotta ask. I mean, did the threats and intimidation and the swatting and the bomb calls work?
No, I mean, so here's what I think has happened. I think the Senate is still planning on voting no on redistricting. And I think that if you read Bray's statement, he's like, all right, fine, we'll come back and take a vote. But like, you can't manufacture votes out of nothing. I think that the swatting stuff has woken some legislators up to this game that they're playing, having consequences that could come back on them and their families. Like you look at Donald Trump, who you can watch his face as he wins the election in 2016 and realize he doesn't actually care about political power. He cares about self-enrichment, and he cares about being on TV and being famous. Like that's what he wants. Exactly. That's why he looks kindly at Zoran, despite them having totally separate policies. That's what he's looking for. And then he has spent billions of dollars, and Russia and China and everybody else has spent billions of dollars feeding the trolls, some of them homegrown, to just say all this crazy right-wing bullshit online and own the libs and just throw all of this ridiculous stuff in the air. And in Indiana, where there haven't been competitive elections for decades, a lot of the newer batch of people, House of Representatives comes up every 2 years in this state, right? So a lot of the Republicans who are in office right now are just smelling their own farts and think that this is how regular people really, really believe things should work. And those who have been in office for a little while, if you've noticed, mostly are horrified by this idea of redistricting because they check their email. They recognize that 99% of the messages they're getting are people horrified and angry about this redistricting thing. This is just aiming a shotgun very carefully at your own foot, measuring it, testing for the wind. You don't want to miss, and definitely just blowing your own foot off. And it's just super obvious to anyone paying attention that is going to be the end result, as a favor to Trump, who is historically unpopular, ridiculously over the top unpopular right now. He still has the media. He still, is making a lot of noise right now. Congress isn't standing up to him, so he's getting his way, but he is not well liked, even in Indiana, even in rural Indiana. A lot of the people who held their nose and voted for him are like, what the hell did I do? And are just looking for any off-ramp right now. And so, you have these far-right legislators who are just la, 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 I'm not listening. I'm on Truth Social, and everyone tells me to do this. Never mind the fact that I've never met any of these people in real life, and they're either living in their mom's basement or in Russia. Just at the end of the day, we still have at least some semblance of a democracy, and voters don't want this, full stop. That is abundantly clear based on anybody who's tried to measure it, even people with a partisan interest in measuring it and trying to pretend that there's favoritism for this. So, I don't want to say, I'm not an accelerationist. Otherwise I would say, I hope they do redistrict. I don't hope they do. I think we should still pressure them and say not. But I think if they do, they're going to find out that they don't have a 9-0 map. In fact, it's a lot more 6-3 or even more against the Republicans, because I think people will punish them for this.
It absolutely could backfire. You mentioned that the voters don't like this. Jesse, would you say that perhaps they are mad? And I build up to this because this is why I wanted Amy here today, because your organization, Mad Voters, is going all out this week, organizing against this redistricting push. And I would like you to tell folks all about what you got planned.
Okay, so I would like to start by just taking a step back and just let everyone know, in case you haven't seen it, it is happening. There is a growing pro-democracy movement in Indiana. It is made up of, grandmothers and students and retirees and teachers and nurses. I mean, look at how many people we had at the No Kings protest in October, right? It is growing. And we also have so many organizations. Pretty much every organization that isn't MAGA is part of this coalition. And so we have Republicans, independents, Democrats, everyone who wants to live in a democracy is stepping up right now and doing the work that needs to be done. And, as you mentioned, the MAD in MAD Voters actually stands for Mutually Assured Democracy. So over the summer, right, love it. Over the summer, when this issue first came up, and we had JD Vance coming to Indiana to pressure, our governor and speaker and Senate Pro Tem to take up redistricting, Mad Voters was like, okay, we're mobilizing people because we recognize this is much bigger than gerrymandering or politics as usual. This is actually part of the authoritarian breakthrough that we've seen in this country. This is part of what is known as an authoritarian consolidation of power. This is an attempt to rig the 2026 elections so that we will not have free and fair elections in the future. We will have elections similar to Russia, where, they have elections, but who's going to win before a single vote is even cast. And, that's referred to as competitive autocracy. And we do not want that situation in this country. As Hoosiers, we have seen what one-party rule has done. We are at the bottom of every quality of life metric. It's horrible. We're so gerrymandered that our voter turnout is at the bottom of the 50 states. And here in Marion County, where I live, it's some of the worst in the entire country. And so what Kurt said, I think, is really important. We have to give people something to vote for. We have to give them inspirational candidates that, have a message of economic populism and are helping, are talking about how expensive everything is and affordability and doing what the people want. And so when it comes to redistricting, we've had several different polls that show the vast majority of Hoosiers are against this. We've had, centrist organizations doing town halls where upwards of, 90, 95% of the attendees were against redistricting. Nobody is for this. There are no Hoosiers who are asking for this. This is something that is completely coming from DC and pressure from the president. It's part of this authoritarian power grab. And so at Mad Voters, what we're trying to do is help people advocate for themselves. So how are we going to do that? Let's start with Monday, tomorrow at the State House. Starting at noon till about 3 p.m., we will be having a rally against redistricting. And this is, again, that very broad pro-democracy coalition where we've got, the ACLU, Planned Parenthood, Common Cause. I mean, I could just go on with all the different organizations that are a part of this. We will all be there. We will have a great lineup of speakers. We are encouraging everyone. I've got my purple on today. There's a reason for that. Wear purple. It's a show of Hoosier solidarity. This isn't a red issue or a blue issue. It's a Hoosier issue. And we are all against this redistricting and having our votes silenced. So rally tomorrow. We do have buses and carpools coming from different areas of the state. So,
Amazing.
Look into that if you're coming farther away. Also, I'm not sure how much more snow we're supposed to get, but, I would just stress, make the right decision for yourself, safety first. If you have concerns about getting out on the roads, by all means, do what is right for you. But hopefully we can get some safe ways to get people at the State House tomorrow. And then on Tuesday, we don't have a time yet because, sometimes our legislature likes to be sneaky and wait till the last minute. But don't worry, we're ready for them.
Republicans sneaky?
Right? It's crazy.
No.
I know. But there will be a House committee hearing. And what we are doing at our website, madvoters.org/testify now, common everyday Hoosiers can submit their testimony, why they are against redistricting, why this issue matters to them. We've already gotten just dozens of submissions, and they're not just coming from Democrats. independents, Republicans. This is across the political spectrum that people are opposed. So if you can come to the State House on Tuesday for that committee hearing, we'll update as soon as we have the time. Again, asking everyone to wear purple. Mad Voters will have some shirts and buttons available. And if you're not able to get there, please submit written testimony. This is important that we are using the levers of democracy that we have available right now and making our voices heard. If you need any help, out on our website, we've got some, data around redistricting and some message points that you can use. We're here to help you, use your voice. And then we'll see how the week goes. But we are planning Thursday evening. One of our partners, Indivisible Central Indiana, will be hosting a redistricting update webinar where we will be hearing some from our state house leaders. And we'll be getting some insights and some updates on what's happening. I'll be moderating that conversation on Thursday. So, we're just doing everything we can to get the information out there to help people advocate for themselves. And so, keep watching, madvoters.org and @madvoters on social media. We will keep it updated with all the latest information. And as the tactics need to change, we've got action alerts on our website. So it'll pop up right when you get there and say, hey, contact your representatives, contact your senators, whatever the latest action is, we've got it updated, and we make it easy so that you can connect directly to your representatives and, make your voice heard. Sorry, very long-winded answer, but we've got a lot
No, that was great.
No, that's amazing. That's why we want you. We brought you here for all this information.
Yeah, I disagree with you on one thing.
Say on it.
I disagree with you on one thing.
Oh.
There are some people in this state who wanted redistricting. There was 15 of them at the 9/0 rally. So
That is a good point.
I just had to correct you on that. There are about 15 of them. 15. So,
Yeah.
Very good.
Anyway.
I love it. Kurt closing us out with a funny.
Yeah.
Listen, while you got the mic, Kurt, we are at the 2-hour mark. So let's go ahead and wrap this thing up. Tell the people where they can find you.
Hey, Hoosier Blues 63 is where you can find me. I mentioned a little bit ago, Courtney Enochs and I and some others are involved in a new program, a new group called Hoosiers Progressive Academy, and we are trying to educate, excite, and inform people to run for office and how they go about doing it. We talked about delegates. We're having a weekly training seminar. Blythe Potter's going to join us on Tuesday night. That's our goal, to educate, excite, and get people involved in running for office. So please follow us on Facebook. Right now is our main platform, Hoosier Progressives Academy, and Hoosier Blues 63. That's where you can find me. And I appreciate you having me here today. So
thank you, Kurt. Appreciate you being here, and I appreciate your new organization. You guys are doing great work. That is definitely something we really need in the state, and I thank you for that. Jesse, where can the folks find you if they liked what you had to say today, or even if they didn't, they just want to give you shit?
If you want to talk shit, I'm here for it. I spend way too much time arguing with people online, so I would love it to argue with you. Find me at Jesse for Indy on most social media platforms, Naptown J Brown on a couple others, or better yet, join DSA and argue with me in the members only Slack. Also, if you want to argue with me in person or give me a high five or anything in between, meet me at my 40th birthday party / fundraiser, which is going to be December 20th here in Indianapolis. If you're listening to this, I'd love to have you come. Check later today. I'm going to have tickets available for that. It should be $25, I think, for the general public, $10 if you join DSA. So see you there.
Oh, amazing. Fantastic. And finally, Amy, one more time, give folks the pitch about Mad Voters, the finest advocacy organization in the state.
Oh, thank you so much. Yes, so we are here to empower civic engagement. You can find us at madvoters.org or at madvoters on all the social medias, except for the bad place. And yeah, we are here to serve you. We are here to help you, provide resources, information, help you understand what the shenanigans the state house is up to, so that you can best advocate for yourself. And I hope to see a lot of you this week as we are continuing, hopefully in the home stretch of our, pushback against this redistricting nonsense. And thank you so much, Scott. This was so much fun. I can't wait to do this again.
I can't wait to have you back. Let's do it again soon. But in the meantime, also, hey, thanks to everybody who came into the chat today. It was popping off. Lynn, Terry, Femi Blue 82. Thank you all. If I missed anybody, there were a bunch of you in there. But thanks for your contribution to this discussion. Let me give myself my information one more time. Again, the website is whosleft.us. Appreciate a paid subscription over there, and follow on all the social medias at Who's Left. Until next time, this has been Who's Left This Week. Love each other, Indiana.